Good morning, everyone. Welcome to another MJ Hobby Corner game, and this is the game FTL from One Page Rules. This is our fleet combat game, and for today, I will be playing this game solo. Okay, so if you're interested in anything you see of One Page Rules, you can go to their website and download their game for free. Okay, let's look at the board and get this game started. Okay, and I am playing the Alliance. Okay, so I assume it's a Rebel Alliance. And my fleet's name is Hope Remains. So I get a certain special ability by playing Hope Remains. And my special ability says that the pros, friendly ships get +3 range to weapons. And the cons, enemy get +1 to hit when targeting ships that used the pro for 1 round. So pro meaning the special ability has pros and cons. And so if I use it, the pros, of course, are that I get +3 to my range. But the con is that my enemy will then get +1 to hit for the entire round against those ships that use the special ability. And my opponent on the other side, the AI, is going to be Imperial. So let's go take a look at the Imperial fleet. Okay, and here is the Imperial fleet in 3 small groups. Okay, I'm going to move these a little bit further down. They're supposed to be closer to the edge. All right, so on this side, we have a medium ship. It is an assault carrier, and it's carrying 2 squadrons of fighters, and these are the Tempest fighters from the Imperial list. And I have a light ship. This is a raider. The Imperial fleet also has a heavy destroyer and another light raider. Okay, and we're going to go on my side of the nebula crest here. And on my side, I have a heavy carrier with 3 squadrons of ships. And these are, I believe, Hawk ships. These are Hawk fighters from the Alliance list. A medium ship called a Harrier, and it's a cruiser. And I have a light kite. This is called the Kite, and it is a light ship. So I imagine that's more like a small destroyer or something like that. This is another Kite ship. Okay, and so that's my fleet. So it's the Alliance versus the Imperial fleet, and they are running on AI. In addition to that, the AI that I will be using for this game is the shooting AI, and it has 4 questions only. Okay, because the Imperial fleet is equipped mostly with shooting weapons in all its upgrades. So it becomes shooting AI. All right, the objectives. 1 objective here, 1 objective there, another one here, and here, for a total of 4 objectives. Okay, and as you can see, these objectives are in the middle of the table, roughly, and by the nebulas. So, how are we going to deal with the nebulas? So, nebulas are considered cover terrain in the book. So, I'm going to do the same thing. You have these open corridors here. Ships can move freely through. Ships can pass through nebulas. That's fine. But these larger nebulas here, the taller ones, they're going to block line of sight. Okay, so now normally ships can fire through nebulas as well as move through them, but if they're shooting, if the path of the firing goes through a small nebula like this, it's -1 to the shoot. Okay. Also, I'm just gonna add the fact that if you go through a nebula, it is going to count as rough ground as well. Okay, so it's going to slow you down a bit. But we are free to go through any of the nebulas, just that they'll slow us down a bit. And you can fire through any nebula where line of sight goes through the nebula. So, for example, that little archway there would probably provide line of sight here. You know, this nebula, if ships are on either side, they can shoot each other and just get the cover bonuses. So we'll use our, I'll use, depending on the situation, come up with a decision for that, okay? So, Let's do this. And this is going to be round one. Initiative for round one. Black dice is the Imperial fleet, and I am the blue dice. And that will be, okay, we got to re-roll because it's even numbers. And I rolled a 5, so I get initiative first. Okay. So first things first is the squadron phase. And we're going to move squadrons first. Moves 10 and 15 if I give them a cruise speed, but then I can't do anything else. So I'm just going to move them at 10. And that's 6 inches right there to the other side. Okay. And they can go, yeah, that's cool. 6, and then I'm able to pivot them at half the move. So I'm going to give them 1 inch. And then they can pivot. And that was 7 inches. So they're going to move another 6. And then that puts them right by that objective there. Okay, so they can claim that objective. And that's one objective for the Alliance. And now let's move the next squadron for the Imperial fleet. All right, and this is the squadron phase summary. All right, so, the squadron phase for both groups. So all my fighters moved here. We claimed one objective. So the Alliance is one objective ahead. Okay, and then the Imperial AI, the decision was to move towards the enemy into a cruise speed, but of course they moved into the nebula, so the nebula slowed them down, and that's where they are now. They're inside the nebula, moving towards my squadrons. All right, let's go to the lightship phase, and I'll summarize that. Okay, so lightship phase. For me, my kite moved here and moved through the nebula, so it lost some movement. I gave it a cruise action, so it lost some movement and stayed right there. The Imperial lightship moved here, right through that corridor in the nebula, and it couldn't fire because the nebula was in the way. And then this kite moved here towards the objective. I fired on the Imperial ship. Had -1 because of the cover, and I rolled 2 6s. I needed 4s, and so the damage went through. However, the ship blocked 1 with its toughness roll. So 1 damage to that light Imperial ship. All right, moving on to the medium ship phase for me. Okay, so I had to go back a little because I forgot the movement of this ship. This light ship moves toward the AI, put me towards the closest enemy. It fired on this kite, but I was able to evade. And then my medium ship moved over, claimed the objective, then fired on the light ship and did another damage box here, got crossed out for one of the upgrades. So once the upgrades are all crossed out, once they're all destroyed, the entire ship is destroyed. So that's how that works. So the upgrades represent the life of the ship as well as upgrades. That's pretty interesting. All right, moving on then to the heavy medium ship phase still for the Imperium now. Okay, so end of the medium ship phase as the Imperial ship moves into the nebula, and I'm just marking it there with the activation marker so we know that it's in the nebula, and that's where its movement ended. It cannot fire. The nebula is blocking line of sight, so it just stayed right there. Okay, so heavy ship phase. My heavy ship moved there. It only has move 4 and a cruise of 6. I gave it a move, and it just moved there. Tried to fire on the light ship, but missed. The heavy destroyer moved here and then fired full batteries on my Harrier, did 1 damage to the Harrier. So that completes round 1, all of the phases. Moving on to round 2. Okay, and this is a round summary, round 2. First, the squadrons, one enemy squadron right here, Squadron 1, Imperial Squadron, was blown apart. by my own Squadron 1. Then the second enemy squadron moved here, fired upon my guys, missed. I returned fire, one of my squadrons, this one here, and did a damage point to it. And then my other squadron fired but failed to damage. Okay, now the Imperial fleet during the lightship phase, they took one objective, and here is the other lightship. It took the other objective. So they claimed two, we claimed two. The game is now a tie. Their assault carrier moved here after crossing the nebula, and it did a cruise move towards the nearest objective at that point, but had to the nebula took out some of its movement. My medium ship fired on the heavy destroyer, missed. Heavy destroyer did fire in its phase on my kite and did some damage. And here my other kite moved from here to here, and that was during the light ship phase. During my heavy ship phase, my big carrier moved here and tried to shoot at that light ship to see if I can disable it and grab the objective, but I failed. So that was it. Basically, the game was tied on round 2. All right, we're going to take our time in round 3 so that we can go through the different phases. Okay, initiative, round 3. And the Imperial fleet goes first. They won initiative last turn. They won it this turn. Okay, let's see. It is the squadron phase. They have 2 dice, and the evasion score on my squadron is 4. So they need 4s to hit. Let's see what happens. And 1 hit with a 6. All right. And I rolled a 1, so I get 1 point of damage plus an extra 1 because they are fragile. And it's squadron number 1 that's carrying the objective. Ooh, that sucks. Okay. So it's going to take 2 points of damage. 1 point left before it explodes and the objective is left behind. All right. So I'm going to just fire. Forgot about that. All right, so do 2 dice. And the evasion on the Tempest fighters is evasion 5. So I need 5s to hit. Jeez. And I rolled a 6, so 1 hit. Also 5. Okay. And it rolls a 3, so it is also fragile, so it takes an extra point of damage. 2 points of damage. And it had a point previously from the last round. So that makes it 3. So this squadron is out. The Imperial fleet now has no squadrons remaining. I'm going to move him here. He's going to be given a move action. So it goes there, and that is 6 inches. And then he moves another 4. So that's where they move. All right. Okay, so my squadrons are taking a shot at the light ship that's near them, and they rolled 2 6s. So that's good. Now the ship defends. And no, 2 shots go through. Okay. Okay, and my next squadron's simply given a cruise move. So I moved from way over here down here. And going to support that other squadron. All right, light ship phase now for the Imperial fleet. Okay, so the Imperial light ship moves here, and it takes a point of damage to use an upgrade, and that puts it close to the kite, which is of the same type. It's a light ship as well, so it fires and scored 3 hits on my kite. So I'm gonna have to roll my toughness 3 times. My toughness is a 4. So let's see how many hits my kite can evade. And only 1 hit is blocked. 2 hits go through. So yikes. Okay, so my kite's shield boost upgrade is the one that took the damage. 1 more point of damage and that upgrade is destroyed. And then the ship only has 3 life left. Okay. My light ship is going to move. It has to move straight first. I think I'm going to move this kite. It's going to go behind the destroyer. That's 6 inches. And now it can pivot because it moved half its move. And now it's going to move another 4 inches towards the light ship. So it's going to put it about there. And he's going to fire on the light ship. Now, I only get 2 attack dice instead of 3. The Imperial light ship gets 3. That sucks. So 2 attack dice. And I need... Their evasion is a 4+, so I need 4s. I got 1 hit with a 5. Got toughness 4. So yes, it blocks the hit. So I don't do any damage to it. And that's the end of my light ship turn. We have 1 more light ship to move over here for the Imperial fleet. And then my second light ship right there. So it uses 3 dice. And the squadron's evasion is 4. So it needs 4. And 2 hits on the squadron. I need to roll 5s on the dice. I rolled a 1 and a 4. That's 2 hits plus 1 is 3 because of fragile. And my squadron is out of there. Alright, so the light ship blew away one of my squadrons. It's still holding an objective. And yikes. Alright. It's going to move 6. Okay, and now it can pivot because it moved half its move. I'm going to pivot it and pivot it enough so that I can fire on the big ship here. So I'm going to fire on that large destroyer. Now the kite only has 2 dice. 2, so I need 2s to hit because it's such a big ship. Alright, only scored 1 hit. Its toughness is 2+, so yep, it blocks. Nothing happened. Rolled a 6 for the destroyer. That's over its toughness of 2, so my kite's shots don't do anything to it. Alright, and that was the light phase. Now we're going to the medium phase. And the Imperial fleet goes first. So this ship is probably going to move. Let's see. So it's going to go 6. And then it can choose to pivot because it will take the shortest route. And then pivots, goes through the nebula, and appears right on the other side. And it's on my rear arc, which sucks, but it cannot do anything because it did a cruise move. So that's the end of its move. So it cannot shoot yet. Alright, now it's my medium ship turn, and I gotta get the heck out of here. A move action, which is 6. And that's his full move, and I can pivot him if I want to because I moved over half. I can fire on the rear arc of this ship. And I didn't include that when I fired with the kite. It is considered the rear arc, so I get a bonus for that. So, whoops, my bad. So my Harrier has 2 dice. It is shooting the rear arc of the Imperial Destroyer. So, it's going to fire, and I need 2s. And I got a 1 and a 4, so 1 hit. It is at -1 because it's a rear arc, and the weapons that I'm using are strength ones, so -2. So it needs 2s with a -2. And it rolls a 6. So no go. My weapons just bounce off harmlessly off its armor. Okay, now we move on to the heavy ship phase. And AI units always fire at the smaller units available, and then if there aren't any available, it's going to fire at the largest units. We are assuming they have turrets, so they can fire in any direction. So it's going to fire on that kite since that's the closest to hit that kite. And they rolled a 3 and a 5, so 1 hit on the kite. And so it's -2 for me. Okay, so I need to roll 4s. -2. A 6. -2 is 4. So I'm okay, barely. Alright, so that ends the turn for the destroyer because it fired first. It didn't move. Yes. So that's right there. And now I can pivot. I'm going to pivot him 90 degrees. And I'm going to fire on that light ship. Okay, so my heavy ship, which is here, is going to shoot on the light raider. He is carrying an objective, so I'd like to take him out. So the evasion for the raider is 4, so I need 4s. I rolled a 6 and a 4, so that's 2 hits. The raider now has to defend 2 hits, which for the raider, toughness 4. So he needs 4s as well. Rolls 2 1s. 2 1s. All right. So both hits go through. Let's see. He is damaged already. Its last upgrade only has 1 shot left. If it gets 1 more damage, it is out of the game. So there it is. All the boxes for this upgrade are gone, and then it has 1 life left. Okay. Almost. All right. This is round 3. Last round is coming up. I got to break this tie. All right. Okay, round 4. This is the last round that I'm playing, and we're doing initiative. Imperium goes first. Jeez. Okay, and the Imperial fleet does not have a squadron phase. So we're going to go to light ship. Okay, let's see which section moves. This one or that one. So I rolled a 3, so it's this one. It's the really injured ship. Okay, and this ship is really injured. The closest enemy of its same size class is right here, so it's going to shoot at that enemy. So, okay. Rolled a 5 and a 1, so 1 hit went through. The kite's toughness is 4. All right, so 1 damage went through, and I have to roll a 4. And I rolled a 3, so damage went through. Now I'm going to do shield boost. And I rolled a 6. So that means that I get to ignore the 1 hit. And that is it for the AI ship. This is my light ship phase. And if I move him 6 and pivot, he can fire on the rear arc of that light ship. I get 2 dice. I need 4s. I rolled a 6 and a 3, so 1 hit went through. It rolls a 4, but that's -1 because it's the rear arc. And my weapon strength is 0. So -1, that makes it a 3. So it takes a hit. That is it for ship 1. All of its upgrades are destroyed, which means that the objective falls. So now we have an objective on the board. Okay, so the Imperial light ship moved over there under the nebula and then pivots, and now it's going to fire on the squadron. 2 dice. And the Hawk Squadron has an evasion of 4. So let's see, it needs 4s. And I got a 5 and a 3. So 1 hit. And I got to roll a toughness. Now they are fragile. So any hit that goes through actually counts as 2 hits. So I have to roll a 5, and I roll a 2. No, it gets an extra hit. And let's see if they have any damage. No, has 2 life left. Okay, so not too bad. So that is the end of the light ship phase, I believe. Nope, I have one more light ship to move. And I think I'm going to move it a little bit forward. It's going to be moving straight right here. Move it right here. And that places the destroyer there. And I'm going to fire with my turret on it. And do stay around for the post-game talk, because there's a couple of things I want to say about this game as I'm experiencing it. All right, so some things that I discovered. So stay tuned for the post-game talk. So I need 2s to hit it with, obviously, because it's a big ship. And I rolled a 6 and a 5, so it gets hit. Now it has toughness 2. Okay, so I rolled a 2. And a 1. All right, so 1 hit goes through. I am going to take the damage out of the gravity bumper. And that's an upgrade for ramming. That's it. That ends the light ship phase. We now move into the medium ship phase. So it is going to move towards the objective, which is going to put it right up against the objective. It cannot score it, however, because there are enemy ships nearby. None of us will be able to score that. It's going to fire on my kite shot. So it's going to fire 4s. And it rolled 2 1s. Oh, it missed. Big time. Very, very good. Very good. I like it. Okay. All right. So now that medium ship went, that's my medium ship back here, my Harrier. He is going to move forward. It's going to put it right there. And then I can pivot, but I don't have to pivot. I'm just going to fire my turret right into the destroyer there. Okay. And it gets 2 dice. The Harrier has attack 2, and it has strength 1. Okay. So I need 2s to hit the destroyer because it's so big. I rolled a 6 and a 3, both hits. And then the destroyer rolls on its toughness, which is also 2. But it's -1 because I have a strength 1 weapon. And it rolls a 6 and a 1. Yes, so another hit for the destroyer. All right. All right, that takes care of my... It looks like I'm going to win this game. Out of the skin of my teeth, I'm just going to mark the ships that already went. And now it is the heavy ship phase. Okay, heavy ship. So I fired, and now it is the destroyer's turn, and it moves 4 inches. Move right here. It does its forward move, and still has my ship in line of sight. So it's gonna fire with the turret. It rolls 2 damn 6s. All right. So I need to roll defense, which is also 3. However, at -2 with these shots. All right, -2, and no! Both hits smack right into... I'm going to put another one just to emphasize it. Both hits smack right into my Harrier. All right, let's take it out of... Oh, yeah. Not good. So... one of its upgrades is destroyed, and the Harrier has 6 boxes left of life. Doesn't really matter. This game is pretty much over. But I'm going to fight to the very end. And that puts a marker on the destroyer. Now my ship, my heavy ship, I can give it a hold action. And then I can pivot 180 degrees. Hold action, he can pivot And not that he has to face, because I don't have any specialized weapon there in the front. And the evasion is 2, so I need 2 or over to hit the big destroyer. And yes, both of my shots hit. The strength of my weapon is 3. So this ship is at -3. Oh, cool. So it is toughness 2, -3. 4 minus 3 is 1. 6 minus 3 is 3, so one shot goes through and damages the destroyer. So we're going to take it off of its gravity bumper, the last upgrade there. So that's destroyed, and then it has all these boxes left. All right, and folks, I think I'm going to end it here. It is the Alliance wins. It is a victory for the Alliance with 2 objectives. One being carried by that squadron there, and the other objective was being carried by the Harrier. So if he had been destroyed, I would have lost that objective. So, all right. So, Alliance victory, and see you in the post game. Hey guys. So that was a very interesting FTL game. It's a lot of fun to play. I do highly recommend anything in one-page rules. So far, I've been having a lot of fun. Now, this is my very first game of FTL, and I decided to try it solo. This particular game is not very good representative of some of the things that go on in FTL, I think. First, being my first game, obviously there are mistakes. And one very important thing is movement in this game. Movement, you do get 4 choices of movement. You can choose to either move the standard move. You can do a hold move, which allows you to pivot 180 degrees. If you do a standard move, that gives you a pivot of 90 degrees. And if you decide to go cruise speed, that gives you a pivot of 45 degrees, not 90 degrees the way I did in the beginning. And I did put some correction texts as I noticed the mistakes. Also, ramming, if you choose to ram, you do get cruise speed and then that 45-degree turn to make sure that you hit the other ship. I didn't do most of those moves. I did mostly standard moves. And part of that had to do with the terrain as well. But I think a few hold moves would have been good in a couple of the situations that I had. Also very important, and this is even more important than the moves, is the arcs of fire. Arcs of fire in FTL are very important. And all ships have what's called the standard turret, which fires in all arcs. So you don't really have to pivot. And that's what those little text things that I put in front of the video meant, that a lot of times I was moving my ships as if the weapons were in the front arc only. That's not the case with a standard turret. With the standard turret, which is basically the weapon that all ships have, this standard turret can fire in all directions. So I don't even have to pivot. I can fire in the rear, I can fire to the sides, whatever. Now, the interesting thing that I want to do for the next game, to improve the next game, is to redo my roster sheet and add some of the free weapons upgrades that they have listed. And there's a lot of cool weapons. So and you can add these weapons for free. They don't cost points or anything. And the only limitations, of course, are the arcs. Some weapons go to particular arcs. For example, there's like batteries of lasers that have the broadside rule, and they can only go on the sides of the ship. But other than that, you can choose which arc to put these extra weapons. So that's in addition to your standard turret. So this is very important because it's going to change the strategy of pivoting. It's going to make your pivots more important because you're going to want to pivot in such a way that you bring those extra weapons, those stronger weapons in many cases, stronger weapons to bear. So for example, I can put an energy cannon on the bow of the ship, which means that cannon can only fire the front arc And then that's in addition to my standard turret. And if I want to, I can put a cannon in the rear. So when you shoot from all, you shoot all your weapons at once, and you can shoot from all your arcs. So if I put missiles on my sides and then have an energy cannon in front, you know, my standard turret, I can actually fire at different targets, right, at once. So that makes FTL very interesting. Not only will you be rolling more dice, but you can get to shoot more things. Of course, your opponents, the AI, it would make things very interesting with the AIs as well, because I think it would make the pivoting actions of the AI ships, again, more interesting, more important, right? And I would think that for the AI, it would want to bring those stronger weapons to bear if it can, right? So that's interesting. It doesn't. I do recommend that you, for all players, that you download the longer version of the rules. You have the one-page rules and then the longer version of the rules, which is like 13 pages. That book really describes everything in a little more detail and has some cool diagrams. And that's how I caught the whole firing arc thing. Okay, it wasn't so clear to me in the one-page rule. So the one-page rule is an excellent summary, and you can use that to play the game. But to really get the full flavor, get the other stuff, and of course you can support them on Patreon and get a lot of extra goodies. So that's it on FTL. I hope you liked it. I really did enjoy it. For next time, there will be more improvements, and I'm going to be really exploring these extra weapons, right? These are usually, in many cases, some of these extra weapons that you get are pretty strong, and they have some interesting abilities. So that's going to be for next time. But it was my first game. You know, mistakes are going to happen. It was a lot of fun, and I do highly recommend FTL or anything in one-page rules. So see you in the next game. Hopefully more improvements, new table. I have more space terrain coming, so we'll have different setups and different games. Have a good one, guys, and we'll talk in the next video.